Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well.
Welcome to the PP1 podcast.
Oh, yeah. Sorry we're a little bit late, folks. Ted wasn't allowed to podcast until he finished his dinner. And those mashed potatoes, they hung around a long time. Long time. Welcome to the PP1 podcast. We're on the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you also by DraftKings. Sportsbook app, promo code THPN. You already know me. You know me. I'm that same old D-O-double-G. I'm Ryan. Welcome. And to my screen right, a good buddy of mine.
You're lucky you're doing ad reads, all right? Just jump in and interrupt the fuck out of you.
My good buddy, Ted. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Yeah,
doing good. Other than this like shit Canucks game that's happening right now.
Oh, it's garbage. I mean, I'm actually happy we're podcasting right now because we've run into a bit of a bad schedule. We've ended up doing Thursdays a lot lately, and it happens to be a Canucks game day.
We had some things going on yesterday, so we couldn't go yesterday.
Yeah, unfortunately. And that's fine. It just, man, this is a lot more fun right now than what we're watching on this game. Like, it is an absolute dog's breakfast. So welcome. Hopefully you're along for the ride. You can comment along YouTube and Facebook and Twitter now. We finally made it.
Ooh.
We finally made it. So if you want to talk about the game, about our show, about us, about my great mustache, or the fact Ted can deadlift 500 pounds, but he can't lift a fork with a little bit of mashed potatoes on it, feel free to comment along. This is going to be the thing.
We got this shit working on Twitter now?
Yeah, it's a StreamYard thing. It's brand new. So
Wow.
It finally kicked in. So
maybe you should send me the link in the chat here so I can repost it to Twitter and then have these people join who want to have the game on at the same time.
That's a freaking lot of work. Okay, well then you start talking and I will find this for you. How about that?
No, I don't really want to do that. Well,
people want to hear your voice. I mean, it's this is a tough thing to do. I'm gonna find this link here. I'm really good. I'm not normally the link sharer in this.
Yeah,
show.
It's usually my responsibility. I think after you share it this time, then
there we go.
I'll be good. I'll be good moving forward.
There we go. So it's in the private chat.
I don't want to accidentally share this cinnamon bun tweet that I posted earlier.
Oh, was it any good?
Oh, it's so bad.
Was it pretty sweet?
No, it's so bad.
I
can't. You're going to have to just look it up. Anybody who's there, go hit my timeline. I shared this tweet about this lady who made cinnamon buns for her husband for Valentine's Day.
Uh-oh.
And she used a very particular kind of yeast.
Oh, no, she didn't.
And it didn't work out. It didn't work out, folks. I mean, apparently they tasted good, but then later on, it's pretty thrushy.
The second word was infection. Decent. Of her? No.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Hey.
What's wrong with people?
I don't know. This is humanity is broken.
Gross.
That was all the interneting I think I needed to do for today.
Oh, that's a bit too much. No, man, that's not good. So I'm
there's a hockey game on.
No one cares. It's the Canucks are just trash this week. You know what? I blame the dad's trip. If it was the mom's trip, this would have been curbed like after the first loss. You know, you see Quinn Hughes' mom like, Quinn, I think you should pass to your friends on the team a little bit more. Seems like you're hogging the puck a little bit more. That Elias boy seems really nice. And I bet if you passed him the puck a little bit more. And JT scored a lot this season. I've been watching your games. I'm not just watching your brothers. You should probably get the puck to that JT boy a little bit more. I know he's got a young family and he needs to support them. So, and also I hear Brock's doing really well. That's great. I'm going to bake him some cookies.
So handsome.
Yeah, if it was the mums, they just like that kind of, not condescending, but kind of like they just kind of tell you what you probably need to know. Whereas the dads are like, man, this is so sweet. My son's in the NHL. We're just going to party so hard. And then like out of nowhere, like Matt Bartowski's mom just shows up. She's like, I don't even care if my son doesn't even play for the team anymore. Let's party. So that'd be kind of fun. I'm I'm a big Wheel of Fortune guy. I'm sure I've told you this before.
I mean, I don't know if I knew that about you.
Okay,
But,
like I love Wheel of Fortune. I think it is.
So me sending you this Wheel of Fortune tweet the other day was like an important thing.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Okay.
So what I don't get, and like I'm like a lifer for this show. I would love to be on the show one day. What I don't get is why people buy vowels so much. You know what I mean? Like they're spinning.
Like if you know, do you mean if you know what the answer is?
Yeah, like you know what the words
vowel?
are. It's just like you need the satisfaction of seeing the word in its entirety when you could just be like, you know, either solving it. Like, or the worst is when they buy a vowel like right before they solve it, knowing full well, like you know the word. Like, I just want to see it. Well, if you just say the phrase, you win more money. It's like one of these little pet peeves I have. So every time I see people buying vowels, they're just like, you know, willy-nilly. I don't like it. I don't like it. That's been going through my mind this week.
And so so you're a big Wheel of Fortune guy.
Huge.
Pat, Vanna, you know, you're all good about it. And so it's taking you now until your 40th year on this earth to question why they're buying vowels.
Oh, no, I've been questioning this for years. I just remembered this week. This just popped in my head. I need to bring it up this week. So
okay.
It just seems like it's a little bit useless. I think people, if you're on that show, the whole point is to make money. You want to get those consonants. Going. And I also had a really funny idea. If the Canucks ever traded for Ristolainen, they could call him Wheel of Fortune, RSTLNE.
Hey, yeah. You know what?
It works.
Yeah. You did it, man. Every once in a while.
Pat Sajak or something. Yo, Sajak, pass me the puck.
And then when he scores, you can say you got Sajaked.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you go flip some letters, son? Oh my gosh, that's where the show's got. The Canucks are so bad it's actually affecting our show. They've lost 3 straight going into this one. They're currently losing 4-2 to Seattle. 12 minutes left in the third. It is not looking like this is going to be a comeback. Good. This is bad.
It's not looking good.
No, it's not looking good. The Canucks are in a funk. They're in a funk. Plain and simple. What can they do, Ted? How are they going to fix this?
I think they just need to get through it, man. There's probably not a solution. I think they were just due for a bit of an ass kicking. I think that's what's happening.
Like, it's wild.
I don't think any. I feels like there was a very large majority of Canucks population that just assumed we were going to go the whole season without losing 3 straight.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can lose 4 straight, it's going to happen. Like, I would rather us just lose 4 straight and get it out of the way than have a 3-game skid and then a separate 4-game skid.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
There's a pretty big game on Saturday that hopefully doesn't turn into a 5-game streak.
Yeah, like they need to sort some shit out, right? Maybe they need the game in Ottawa where they go for a team skate and play some shinny or something like that. Like, wasn't that what turned the old Crawford team around back in the day versus the trade deadline, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously we're grasping at straws here, but like, whatever. You're in this funk. Find a way out of it. This is going to be the resolve that you're looking for. Like, I still feel like it's lessons at this point in the season. We haven't really had any hardship all season long, right?
The PDO has been so high all year. Like, it's fine. It's taken like almost 3/4 of a season to finally be like, okay,
yeah,
things are going to have to die down a little bit.
It's going to happen at some point. I mean, I was just talking to a buddy of mine. My buddy Sean was over tonight just before this, and it's like, he's a big Flames guy, right? I mean, so he's outside looking in and he sees what's going on, and it's like, you know, Toronto just went through a bit of a skid. We had like LA that was looking real good. They hit a huge skid. The Oilers had theirs at the start of the season, right? Vancouver goes into Boston, gets absolutely whooped. Then they hit a huge skid, right? They lost again tonight.
Well, they will.
No, I think they did. They lost to Calgary.
Sorry. I thought we were talking about the Canucks.
Boston, right? Like, and so what I'm saying here is all of these top teams, right? I mean, I haven't paid close enough attention to Colorado, but I'm just going to assume that maybe they hit a 3-game skid already this year too, right? Like it's going to happen. This is just when ours is happening. I think we're forgetting that, the Vancouver Canucks are just a couple of weeks outside of the trade deadline.
And I wonder if that's wearing on them a little bit too. Like,
we're not there yet.
Do you think it's maybe, and it probably isn't, but I know it's in some of our heads, that it's getting so close? Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to make a move? Are they going to, like, is Mikheyev going to be on the move? What are you drinking there?
Well, I don't know. I found it in the fridge. It said Dylan's Gin Cocktail.
Okay. You know what I'm having?
Tangerine and lemon. It's really good.
This is a nice, strong espresso martini.
I was gonna say, if it's not a beer, it's an espresso martini.
It's this thing is delicious. This is gonna probably be the opposite of what I should have had at 9:00. But
hey, you know what? We just got
I'm an adult. I don't care.
We won an espresso machine at the Super Bowl party there. So I literally just made myself one. It's pretty good.
They're good. They're good.
Yeah.
Also enter that contest that I posted. There's the coffee machine website that I subscribe to.
Oh, okay. So, like, I don't know anybody who's listening. Do you have one of these friends who just like randomly posts you in all of these contests on like every social media platform?
Just on Instagram,
and like you don't know, like, oh, is it? He's tagging me in this because he needs to like tag 4 people so that he can win this contest. And it's like,
you just have your.
I know that this particular friend is not recommending it to me so that I can just go try to get the win. Like he's just tagging me in it so he can have somebody to tag that he theoretically thinks isn't going to get annoyed with them. Does do any, like, I wonder if anybody has a friend like
I feel like I'm probably that person. Now, for this coffee one, I likely am that person.
It's
for
you.
This coffee
100%.
one, though. Yeah, I know it's me. I'm the problem. This coffee one, though, if I wouldn't win this, I would hope one of my friends does win it. Like, you get this sweet coffee setup. It's worth like 10 grand.
Is this like this time you tried to send me a coffee grinder and sell it to me for like $300 or something like that?
No, I'm still trying to sell that, though. If you need one, sitting in the basement, it's practically brand new. No, this is a different thing. So, like every year on their anniversary, it's called I Drink Coffee. That's just like with the letter I, and they've got all these like absolutely like Gucci model espresso machines and coffee makers. Like even the Breville one, like when you and I talk about those, even like the cheapest one on there is like $1,200.
Do you think like super duper rich people wear Gucci?
I think so.
Or do you think they
have better things?
There's better rich people stuff. Like Gucci is on like the low end of the rich person scale.
It's like the name brand rich person.
Yeah, like if you wore Gucci and you were like a super rich person, it would be the equivalent to like you walking around
with Oakleys,
wearing like Airwalk stuff.
Oof. Airwalks were pretty sweet though. Yeah, no, you're probably
check out my new Joe Fresh t-shirt.
Yeah, the hierarchy of richness. It's like, oh, you're only wearing Gucci. Like this is a name brand only 6 people even know about. Okay.
Yeah. But getting back to the Canucks stuff, like, yeah, I think they're just going through it. I think it's their time to go through it, right? I mean, like, you got all these teams that win in their streaks early in the years, these losing streaks, and yeah, here they are now. They're making their push. They're trying to like solidify. Hey, we're a good enough team to make a trade. Or there's guys that are like, don't make a trade. This team is ready to stay together. Like, take a chance on us. Similar to that Canucks team that did their outdoor skate in Ottawa all those years ago, right?
Yep.
And I think that's happening. Like, I think, did we really expect that it was going to stay this spaced out from the teams at the top versus the teams at the bottom? Vegas lost again tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
Like bottlenecking, man. It's going to happen, right? I mean, all these teams are getting closer that we're outside looking in.
If you're
all the teams that were bottlenecked at the top, lose it now. Like, I would way rather them get this shit out of their system now. Figure your stuff out. That's part of the point of bringing the Lindholm in now.
Yeah.
Versus like, imagine hitting this at the trade deadline and now having to figure it out. Now you're really up against it, right?
Or 3 games from the end of the season.
Yeah, get it figured out. Hit that resolve, reset your team, get back in gear, get your mojo back. Just as the regular season is ending, and it's still got to be priority to get out here and win the West.
So let's get into kind of the trade deadline and maybe the opposite of the trade deadline. Archie Baines made his debut. He's looked, I mean, very, very small sample size so far.
Sure.
But I mean, he looks like he doesn't want to get sent down.
Yeah.
And I mean that's stating the obvious, but I mean, some guys, like, they make a difference when they get called up. He just seems like he's making a difference, and he hasn't scored yet, but geez, it feels like it's close. He's been on a lot of these big rushes off the fly here. He looks like he's gritty. He's bringing a lot more than a Mikheyev is bringing. He's bringing a lot more than a lot of players are bringing right now. He's not scoring, and I mean, neither is half the team.
He's making plays,
but he's noticeable. He's one of those guys that's been called up, and he's instantly been noticeable. Dakota Joshua's still out, but I mean, all of a sudden now you've got another guy that, he's kind of your. Is he like one of your Victor Oreskovich, Aaron Volpatti kind of fourth line guys that's going to bump his way down? Because now when your guys do get healthy, you've got enough depth where you can kind of say, okay, well, maybe we're going to sit down Mikheyev for a bit. Maybe we still bring in Phil Kessel. Maybe that's potentially a thing. Maybe we still bring him in right at the deadline and just like get him healthy right up to the playoffs and then start seeing what you have. But I mean, Baines looks pretty good. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of bright spots in the last couple of games. He's been one of them.
Yeah. I think
the other one.
I think that was the whole point of having a guy like Jeremy Colleton on the farm, right? Like,
yeah,
this is an NHL coach. Like, don't get it twisted. This guy can be coaching an NHL team right now, and he has already, with some varying degrees of success, right? Like, there's a lot of coaches who just get it done with vets, and then there's coaches that really build and develop players, right? And that's what Colleton is, and I think that's what he's really done with the Canucks over the last little bit. I mean, we've talked about it so many times, how much the emphasis is on trading this culture, right? And that's got to start at the bottom all the way up. And so if these guys on the big team are setting the tone for the guys on the farm team,
yeah,
it really starts with guys like Arshdeep Baines, right? And it puts less of a precedent on guys like the Klimoviches in the world and guys like, Atu Ratu, who are, one was sort of a prized prospect for Vancouver. And I say prize at the time because although he was selected in the fourth round, he was kind of like the best player that they had in terms of a prospect for a little while that was playing down there, right? So these guys have been able to sort of sit down and take a back seat while other guys have sort of stepped in and become more established and led this team. Linus Karlsson comes to mind, Höglander last year. Podkolzin, you really get the impression that these guys can step in if needed and play a role on this team. And I think, like, to the Kessel thing, like, it'd be really nice if we didn't have to depend on a Kessel.
I don't think they're depending on it. I just think if they've got that card, they can play if they have
exactly. And I think that's like the perfect way of looking on it, right? Like, yeah, you've got a Kessel and that's great, but like, we don't want to have to like hang our hat on that. We want options. And I think there's options, right? I mean, Carlson's played some games. Baines has played some games now. He's shown that he can play, right? I mean, that work ethic and that forecheck, like, he's just so smart, and it's like very, very obvious that the guy knows what he's doing, right? I mean, he's hungry. Like, there's shades of Alex Burrows in there, and I'm not saying that he's going to go out and output like Burrows is, but the idea of a guy who really had nothing given to him and has had to earn every square inch, including the time that he spent trying to get into the WHL as an undrafted. So he knows what he knows what to do to please coaches and play that the way that he needs to play. And that move behind the net for a little quick spin pass to Bluger, try to score short side, like, that's a really heady play. That doesn't happen by accident.
Too,
it's
right?
Yeah, it's very premeditated, right? Like, if we get into the playoffs and we get in through a few rounds, there's going to be injuries. And I guarantee you guys, like, especially if this team doesn't make any more changes, guys like Baines and the Carlsons of the world, or Podkolzin, like, these guys are going to be important players and important role players on, this Canucks squad. If we're going to make any kind of run in the players, like, I guarantee it. Like, it just has to be, you have to have the depth or else you're screwed.
So, and I wanted to get into this in a little bit, but I think, like, these are great points. I really feel like we understand this Canucks team. Maybe we're just grown-ups now.
I think we're finally getting into this Canucks team, right? I mean,
yeah.
Like, all of the other runs, and I'm sorry, I know you're about to go on a run here, and I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't worry.
I want you to share.
It's sitting in queue. Don't worry. I'm good.
But, like, the West Coast Express team, right?
Mm-hmm.
The team saw a lot of success. We didn't see them go to a Stanley Cup final, but like we grew up with that team in a sense, right? Like all the big players were there. All of the role players were guys that we sort of, Matt Cook, like those types of guys that were playing on the lower, the Brent Sopel, like those type of players who weren't like the top tier guys. Trent Clatter was another guy, right? Brought back a Linden. Like that team kind of it kind of grew up, right? And same with the 2011 team, right? We added a couple of big players like the Malhotra and Lapierre and some guys down the stretch and some other guys early to really solidify the team, right? But we saw those players for many years before they finally got over the playoff hump, right?
Yeah.
And aside from this team's absolute core, right? Like the really thick and thin 4 or 5 players, everyone else on this roster really feels new, right? And if they're not new, they're guys like Höglander who went away and came back and now are making a name for themselves, right? And so it's almost like we haven't had the years to connect with all of the players on this team. And it's taken us a bit of a season to really learn to enjoy a Teddy Bluger or even Connor Garland, right? But the Bluger and Cole and some of these other defenders, even Hronek. We love the player; he's one of our best players. But like, we're taking this year to become attached to these players and this team, and so that's kind of a fun experience. A little bit different than the way we've had to do things over the last couple of quality teams that Vancouver's had.
I think the nice thing about learning about these guys too is like we're learning about them in wins. Mm-hmm. And that was going to be my next point. The Canucks are still, I haven't checked the standings, but let's just say it. The Canucks are still tops in the NHL. So what we think and what's going on right now, it's a funk. It is a slide and it isn't fun because, well, this is what we've seen for so many seasons. There's still a lot different overall in this team. There's no way that this isn't sustainable either. This bad play is not sustainable.
It's not who they are.
No, there's a lot of good players on this team. I mean, maybe they start emphasizing on a Filip Hronek and maybe they start leaning on him a little bit more and a little less on Quinn Hughes so that obviously opens up a guy like Quinn Hughes. Maybe they start getting Brock Besser at the point again, getting him shooting again, maybe getting Pettersson shooting again instead of relying on Miller and Hughes so much because it really feels like they're leaning on those two guys right now. And I think everybody else just feels like they're guessing a little bit. Myers doesn't look great, but like, and I'm not saying this like, let's crap on Tyler Myers. I'm using him in this exact kind of statement. Myers just looks like, again, he's one of those guys, like he's making mistakes when he hasn't really been a liability as a whole this season. Like guys that everybody just seems like they're a little less better than they were. And everybody's just kind of, I don't know, they got mushy brain or something. But I think when you look at this team, and I'm going to read back so I don't forget what I was going to say. Like I said, they're still first in the NHL, or they will be at least till the end of this game. Let them build that final machine. Let's see what the end result looks like of what is going to be built for this season, for this NHL season. And then let's start judging at that point. If it actually starts getting really bad and, they make the playoffs and they're out in the first round, okay, maybe it was too good to be true. Or they get through this funk, they don't add anything, or maybe they do add one more piece or make some kind of a move, a call up or whatever. And, they get back to what they've been doing really well all season. I mean, goaltending for either goaltender in the last week and a half has not looked good. The power play is
an issue. The power play is an issue right now. The team has looked, I would like,
but they're relying so much on like one play. They're not using their second power play. And I kind of made the joke in our rundown, like they almost need like a power play 3, like something like in case of emergency, use this just to like get out of a funk. You know what I mean? Like just have like something so ridiculous. Like let's have like, I don't know, like Hronek, Garland, Pettersson, I don't know, Joshua when he comes back, like just something that's just a mismatch, just to like get it out, just to get out, get that, sow some wild oats and, get back, get back to just playing like, 2024 Canucks hockey, because this team is very good. And this is one of those teams where you can actually defend against your friends and people, the Canucks are this. Like, listen, if we're all this deep in the season already, excuse me, We're almost at March. And the Canucks have been, aside from this, a juggernaut this season. Well, you don't just forget how to be that team. You go through a little bit of a mental thing. I mean, you just do. That's sports.
You ever been in a batting slump before?
Oh, dude.
How is it that you can just like drive a ball like it's the easiest thing you've ever done, 6 at-bats in a row, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I haven't been on base in 6 at-bats.
You pop up every single at-bat.
It happens. You start overthinking it, and all it's going to take is one win where they dominate, or one really good effort where they should have won, and that's going to be it, right? Like this.
They need that goofy walk-up song that I had in the summer.
Yeah, man. Like
that worked out. I got a text right after the game. Steve goes, "I knew what I was doing."
To go back to that point about we're sort of, we're getting used to this team and its role and its players, right, and its characters right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of what this team is, in the sense that, like, if you look at Edmonton and you look at Colorado and you think about Vegas, and maybe not so much Vegas, but you look at a lot of these teams and it was like, didn't immediately see playoff success. Had to get some lumps first, right?
Well, McKinnon, yeah, I've been in this league, what do you say, for like 7 years or whatever, and I still haven't won anything.
Yeah, like it's, go back to this 2011 Canucks team slaying the dragon, right? Like getting to the playoffs, not having success, tough pill to swallow. Got to get over that hump. That hump is Chicago, right? Like this team has to do that in one season. It doesn't have the years of experience. It's not going to have years of experience because this team is not going to be available. The team that it is now is not what it's going to look like next year. We know this.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to fast forward all of these lessons, right? Like they're gonna have to learn them all now on the fly, and they're learning one right now. They're learning tough lumps, right? Like, and they might not pull through it, but like I feel like this team's good enough to get through it. And so when they get through it, in my opinion, it's gonna be a better team, right? They're gonna be a little battle tested, right? And they really haven't been battle tested to this point. They kind of need this. They kind of need this reality check, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not playing to our absolute nines and we're not playing the way we could, we can't just skate by and coast with these teams, and it's going to be different in the playoffs. So figure it out.
Here's an interesting wrinkle. So when was the last time the Lotto line played together? How many games ago was that?
Oh shit, I don't know. I feel like 10 or more.
So this is kind of out of the box thinking. I just kind of came up with this.
That was when Puis Suter was like manning the second line and looking like an absolute beast.
Yeah. Do you think, now this is a real stretch here, but hear me out. Deep dive with Ryan for a second. Do you think that Rick Tocchet is actually playing chess while we're all thinking checkers, and he's actually still testing these lines, knowing full well? Yeah. Let me finish. Don't get to the end yet. Knowing full well that he can absolutely go back to the Lotto line. He can make that second line a lot more dangerous than it is, which in turn obviously makes the third line and eventually the fourth line back to what it is. Do you think that he's playing a little bit of chess with the coaching staffs? Maybe kind of like, probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're saying, you know what, we're going to keep trying this to make sure that we have other options when this is actually for real.
Like this is when you get your test runs out, right? This is when you get your reps in, you get the kinks out,
Spencer's right? Everything will be fine after we beat Boston Saturday.
There you go. I love it. Spencer,
thank you, Spencer,
100%.
for bringing us hope.
Like, I think there's some truth to that, right? Like, let's try and test and play out all of these options now, right? Mm-hmm. Well, everybody else is vying for the next trade trip. We got ours. Let's try to sort this shit out, right?
You're a little late on that. A little late. We've already tackled Phil.
Yeah,
Phil
we talked about Philly.
Not through the table.
Every man's man, Phil Kessel. I don't even know what I was saying, but yeah, they're testing everything, right? I mean, so maybe he is like, look, I like watching the Lotto line play together as much as the next person, but like, I mean, the scoring was great, but were they controlling play as much as we thought they were, or were they getting beat up on a little bit too?
I don't think they were controlling. I don't think they were necessarily controlling play, but the results were there.
The results were there. And so although I understand the
And
fact
results
that like
trump control.
results trump control, but Talkett preaches this sort of control system, right? So if it's not doing the things that the system calls for the rest of the team, he's not going to have one line do all of that on one thing, right? So I don't know. I think it's fantastic to just have that fastball, right? To just go shot in the arm. But I mean, I don't know if that's going to be a line for an extended period of time. I just don't know.
I think you bring up control, but I think the fact, like I said, I think because they were bringing results, the control was kind of going. They weren't like cleaning up with that line, but you were getting the control on a lot of the other lines. So when they came in, they were able just to kind of like the hammer at the nail, right? Like they just go and finish it off. Not that they were doing that, like they were doing their own business too, but as a control metric, they weren't necessarily the straw stirring the drink. Everybody else was kind of bringing that, and they were coming in to kind of, make sure things were getting finished properly. But again,
I still think power play is the straw on this roster, but
the power play is going to be kind of, they're probably going to have to live and die on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean,
the way they're playing,
partly, right? Like this team,
their sticks anyway. They're taking too many penalties. They're going to have to make sure they're
capitalizing. Yeah, I mean, they got to sort some of that shit out on their own, because like the game is not clean for them right now, right? Like
it's dirty. It's lazy.
It looks kind of lazy, yeah, but they look really good 5-on-5. Like, so they're getting killed in special teams right now, which has kind of been a bit of an Achilles heel for this team over the last while, regardless of who the coach and ownership has been, right?
Yeah.
So our management group has been, but yeah, that's got to get sorted out. And it should be easier now with a guy like Lindholm on the roster.
Their power play was so dangerous before that you didn't even have to worry about the penalty kill, because they weren't on the penalty kill that often. And now we're looking at a penalty kill where we're thinking, geez, like, I'm glad that these guys have it pretty much figured out. But as soon as they get a power play, like it's back to 3 or 4 seasons ago, when we're just kind of laughing like, well,
can't be live and die. Can't be live and die on the power play though, right? Like what happens in the playoffs when the whistles go away? Like what happened in that 2011 run in Boston?
Nothing.
Power play dried up, right? Like this team's got to score 5-on-5. I know they can do that. Like they've shown that this is still a good team 5-on-5. It's been kind of a little bit dismal the last, in and out of games. I won't count that like fucking super weird Minnesota game, but
yeah, that was something. That was the stories from that game were just great.
Yeah,
like the water cooler on Monday was or Tuesday, I guess, was quite the little piece of business after that Minnesota game. Like it had not in a good way. It had everything.
It was a football score.
Yeah, it had 3 hat tricks. It had the Canucks up 4-1, had them up 5-2.
So
it had them
3 or 4 2-man advantages. 4.
Yeah, so they had an 8-man advantage against them. That's not good. That is not good. 2 is really bad. 3, okay, now we just need to like calm down here. Things are just getting out of control. Oh, I'm sorry, 4 5-on-3s? Yeah, you deserve to lose a game like that. And yet they were still in it until that, was it 6-5 or 7-6 goal?
Yeah, and another tough game versus Seattle now. So this is the end of the road trip. If there was ever a fucking reset, it's now. Go back to Vancouver, get some home cooking, get a couple of good practices in, have your coach whip you a little bit. Enough team bonding. Let's get back to work.
I just saw an Instagram post from Natalie Miller, JT Miller's wife. 3 workouts in 24 hours. She's working harder than half the Canucks are right now. She's a mom. She's got 2 kids. Dad's away on a road trip.
I'm pretty sure all the toughest people I know are moms. So I don't know
that's a given. But she's absolutely destroying it. Her husband's doing a pretty good job too. But my goodness, like it's just everything.
Man, is he having a season?
Oh, he's having a great season.
Like 75 points now in 58 games.
Did you see? Like I don't know. Did you see this whole game tonight?
He's gonna smash his career high for goals this year.
Oh, absolutely. He's having a Kessler year.
He's at 30 and 58, guys. Well, sorry, 28.
He's no Austin Matthews, but that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's a
season. I want to see him score 70. If he could score 70, I don't care. I know he's the Leafs. If you see a guy score 70 goals, hats off to you, man. That's pretty rad. I mean, unfortunately, it's not one of the teams you want to cheer for, but I mean, Like when McGillney and Solani did it, I was so mad that Solani did it that season because that meant Felix Potvin wasn't getting Rookie of the Year and he was having a stellar season. I was like, how do you cheer against a guy that is 4 goals away from 80? Like, that's sad. So, yeah, if Austin Matthews can put up 70 goals this season, I mean, you have to clap for that because this is a crazy NHL if you can have a guy scoring 70. I mean, geez, Ovi's back on his game again, too. It's, there's just so much. I mean, the Canucks have really been a disappointment in the last week and a bit. Like, they just showed a clip after the game here. Like, Demko just looks a bit shook right now, too. I mean, this is a guy that's about as mentally, sound as anybody out there. Like, he's just so cerebral, and he just looks like he's just shook. And I mean, for a guy that isn't shook, he's ice cold. There's one of your guys, like the couple of the goals you let in tonight, you shaking your head like that's not Thatcher Demko. Like you could put, it's a different little spurt right now.
They're just different. I don't know how you're right. I don't know how else to explain it. Spider Soul or Good Buddy says that he's going to be at the game on Saturday. So kudos to you getting tickets. I don't know how you did that. It's been a pain in the ass to get tickets this year. But yeah, expects a good effort. If they lay an egg against Boston at home, Bluebirds might come out. That's like a guarantee. I feel like if we hit a 5-game skid, there's going to be.
And that's
I think the person in me wants to say riot, but that's probably not acceptable here. But
no, we can say it. It's fine.
Am I right?
It's okay. We've done it before. That's our thing. I mean, Montreal does it in the first round, which is super weird. Yeah, that Golden Knights with Stone on L. I saw that today. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding.
Can we really be mad about that? So another point here by Grant. But
you can't be mad about like. Yes, we're mad about it, but it just.
But are we really mad about it? Like, no. Do we not remember like Sammy Salo being placed on long-term injury reserve, and then we get an injury, and then Sammy just like miraculously comes back and is available to play, and it's like cap circumvention. We kind of did the same thing, right? I think
the Canucks have been beneficiaries of this as well.
Right.
They just haven't been beneficiaries of it for a decade. So yes, it's a little bit of a recency bias, and unfortunately, I mean, they're coming off of a Stanley Cup win where that worked out last time. But I mean, it's the same. It was kind of the same with Kucherov. We thought maybe Landeskog was going to be in that boat. Unfortunately, his is a lot more serious. But
it is very obvious cap circumvention. But I mean,
100%.
But I don't know if I can be mad about the rule, right?
Do you not?
Unless they come back and say some shit about like the Luongo recapture, like that's never going to happen.
You just brought that up. Yeah, it's got us all jaded. But do you not think if there was a scenario where the Canucks could conveniently make that work?
Well, they would, 100%. Every team in this league would. It's just so obvious with this, right? And it was. I remember getting chirped. You and I worked in a store where anyone and their dog could come and see us at any time and shit talk us about what Vancouver was doing, right? It's like not that I could show up at your job and bother you about your favorite hockey team, but you know where I work and you're allowed to come see me.
It was like the New York Yankees of, they were just doing it like, well, they have got all this money, so they can do whatever they want. Yeah. Well, that's Gary Bettman and the Board of Governors created the CBA, and they found out about the first loopholes, which the Canucks still didn't get away with. And then everybody else, I mean, you look at how the expansion draft went for Vegas. Seattle didn't do quite as well in that version. But I mean, there's been so many loopholes. So do you not think, like, these guys are all lawyers. The guys that are creating this stuff, they know how the wording needs to go. They know that, hey, we're not going to expose this quite yet, but when it's time, here's all the loopholes that we're going to have. I would do the same. You and I would do the same thing. You just would. You would do the sneakiest things to get your team all the way. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take advantage of something that obvious? I mean, why wouldn't you? If you could, you would. It's plain and simple. Like I would in a heartbeat. You know why? Because if I'm running a team, I want to win. And if that's technically legal, take advantage of it. It's not, nobody's using performance enhancing substances and nobody's betting on sports. Like, listen, you created a structure and we found different ways to climb around the structure. If you want to complain about it, make a better structure.
Make a better structure. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. That's got to be, put that on a bumper sticker on a t-shirt.
Make a better structure.
Make a better structure. So, even though this has been kind of a bad run for the Canucks, I think we should still point out. Now, this game seemed pretty decent. The referees haven't. I mean, ever since there was the one penalty, I can't remember what game it was. The Canucks have definitely had a bit of a run of not the greatest officiating. Now, that goes, I guess, for both teams that they've been playing. But it really seems like when we had Dave Jackson, I think you weren't on for that one, but they were looking for the stand. He talked about the standard. Now, I don't know if the standard has been carried out so much, and that's you probably won't see some of these guys ref in the playoffs. But I don't know. Some of the standard to me seemed like it was a little come see, come saw. Like, especially there's the one goal against Minnesota where there was that scrum in front of the net and the ref didn't blow the whistle. Mm-hmm. Knowing full well they should have. That you couldn't, like, no one could see the puck and he barely could see it. It's like when...
Well, are you talking about the Casey DeSmith cover, right? Like,
yeah, like there's a big scrum. Everybody's trying to fish out the puck in front of them. No one can see the puck. And by law, I don't even know, but basically by rule, they're supposed to blow it dead. Well, it didn't happen. It ends up being a goal. It's like when Team Canada got called for holding, the goaltender got called for holding the ball for too long. Remember that call in the Olympics? Same kind of thing. Like, it never gets called. Yeah, like it's stupid. So in this case, it always gets called, and this was the one time it didn't. And I mean, that's one of those backbreakers. Like, that game was so wild. Like, something like that. I mean, especially when you're a little bit unstable as things are going. Hauled down tonight, being dragged offside. Yeah. So I didn't see that one, Grant, but I'd have to go back and see it. But it doesn't look like the Canucks are getting necessarily the standard officiating, as Dave was saying. I would love to have him back on before the playoffs. He's a great get. And it's just one of those things. And I think even if they were winning, there's definitely been some iffiness, if you will. And every team goes through this. It's just when things are going really well and you start seeing it. It's been a pattern, though. Like, it's not like it's been one game that everybody is just stamping this one call. It's been a pattern for the last week or so. There's my rant.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say other than you're right. And like,
thank you.
But now it's done.
Yeah, it's
wash
over.
your hands with it. Get back home. Just be clean.
Mm-hmm.
Start over. Get some good practices in, and then get back to basics. Like, for real.
Yeah, lot of line. Use the second power play more. Archie Baines.
Yeah,
go to Joshua. Be healthy.
Myers in front of the net.
Something like that. Yeah, don't put Petey in front of the net because he's not exactly net front presence. Johnny on the spot.
You go. I like the Lindholm in front of the net thing. I mean, him playing in the bumper spot. It looked good for me for a bit. I don't know. Seems really good at deflecting pucks, but yeah, who knew?
I heard
Lindholm's having a tough go of it, and Monahan's just lighting it up right now. So it's upside down right now.
Ah, well, you know, they just showed the standing. Canucks are still first, so don't worry about it. I think it's that time.
Top five.
What are we gonna do? What do you got?
So I had a couple of fun ones, and I think I'm going to reserve my other one for another day, which is top 5 all name team.
Oh, in the text today, that was an interesting one, and I had a couple giggles, and then I thought
it's a funny one, man. Like,
you could go crazy on that
big
one.
Nat Dominichelli guy.
Ooh, Yuri Batsayev.
Yuri Batsayev, Miroslav Satan, right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put a pause on that. Maybe I'll save that one because
Lawrence
I do
Nicolette.
think it's a fun one. Yeah, Lawrence Nicolette. Yeah, that's
Sven Butenschon.
Yeah, Connor Dewar.
Stubby clap.
But stubby clap, yeah, little baseball plug there. That's good.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go the opposite direction, and I'm gonna say top five.
Do you want that again?
Favorite NHL players never to have played for the Canucks, and I don't.
Top five.
I don't think it's fair to be like Gordie Howe, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky. You know what I mean? Like, I want some interesting things.
Gordie Howe, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky. Those are my first 3.
Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby. Done. I want you to be creative with it. I want you to talk about who your favorite players were that never played for the franchise that you wished would. or even that they didn't, that's fine. But you just really enjoyed watching them, and you would tune in the highlights to see what they were doing. So you started off. Who was some of your favorite players? Doesn't have to be in order. I'm going to put mine in order, I think, but you can do what you want to do.
So I really wish, like, it would have been interesting to know had this guy actually ever played for the Canucks, because there definitely was talk about it. I really thought, like, if Mark Messier ever played.
I don't know if I'm the only one frozen out there. This is probably what happens when you. He's about to say Voldemort's name.
My internet just went down.
And then just as he's about to say it, shh, don't say his name. Well, that's your fault. I know that wasn't your pick. It's hurtful. It's shameful. And I'm going to tell you to pick again.
That was so funny. My internet just crapped out. That was a warning. Just like, listen, we're watching.
Because he went to go mention he who shall not be named.
Oh, man. That's was good.
Fault.
That was great content.
That's your fault.
Oh, okay. So, you know what? This is what a lot of people would have loved to have seen. And I'm not going to put this in order because this is going to be so tough for me to rank this. But Joe Sakic.
Ooh, that's a good one.
If Joe Sakic, I mean, we had the lesser Swedish version of it in Marcus Naslund. But if we could have had a Joe Sakic on this Canucks team, not even necessarily in his prime, but just enough where even if we got the tail end of his talents, he was such a Canuck killer, as was Milan Hajduk, and you might even say Milan Hajduk.
How many more teams does this? How many more wins does this team have if Sakic and Hajduk aren't on that squad?
Man, either one of those guys, but definitely, like, obviously Burnaby Joe. That would have been one of those stories that would have definitely just taken off. Joe Sakic is in my top 5.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you.
I'm going to go defense first on this one. And this one's probably near and dear to both your and my heart.
Willie Mitchell.
For obvious reasons. Maybe the most, like, Zdeno Chara aside, maybe the most devastating shooter the league has ever seen. And an absolute mountain of a man, helped lead this country to gold. Shea Weber. Oh, such a huge Shea Weber fan. I couldn't even like how great that would have been to see a guy like that play for the Canucks. It's not a late round draft pick, but like was very clearly first round talent, and who knows how he fell. But just developed into one of the best defensemen, best overall defenseman that this league has ever seen. And I really feel like this guy could have played in any era. Mm-hmm. Bar none. So huge Shea Weber fan.
The Shea Weber thing always has bugged me because I remember, that draft year was arguably the best draft year aside from the 2006 one, I guess. That draft year had so much talent, and yet we still see a Dion Phaneuf go, what did he got? Third, I think. Second or third? I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
And Weber goes.
No, I think he went later than that. Sorry. I think Dion went later than that, but everybody knew he was going to play.
Or 7th or something like that. And Weber goes, I still remember my dad and I were watching the draft. And like we've had season tickets since I think it was the first season the Kelowna or the Rockets came. And when Weber came through, you're just watching and like World Juniors and this, that, and the other. Then it comes to draft time, right? And you're thinking, well, this guy is a lock for a first rounder for anybody. And he misses out in the first round. And you're thinking, okay, he's better than Dion Phaneuf. Like, and the two of them were kind of compared, right? Like they were defense partners for World Juniors, and they were just incredible. But one of them was easily the better talent.
Unless you ask Pierre.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the double Dion goes a long way.
Double Dion.
But then he goes to Nashville, and I remember I looked at how that second round went. I'm like, how did the Canucks not go and try to trade and make a trade for Weber? Because at the time, I mean, again, the Dub had some pretty decent players at the time. Dion Phaneuf, again, was another one of them. But the Dub was so strong at that point.
Yeah, and it seemed like Vancouver never drafted from the Dub either, right? Especially back then.
And you had, like, absolute lock of a player. And almost immediately, as soon as he was in the NHL, he was a difference maker. Like you had, because who else was back there? Like Ellis and.
Well, that was the year that so Nashville made that pick, and I think they had 5 guys, like 5 different.
Oh, they
players
went
in
heavy
game.
that
So it's
year.
There was the German guy, I can't remember his name, that played for Vancouver as well that year, and they had, I think, I want to say Suter was in that draft. I think he went in the first round that year. I'm just going to bring it up actually.
I'm bringing it up as well.
Yeah, so they had like 4 or 5 guys make that like squad and play hundreds of NHL games.
Phaneuf went 9th. I'm sorry, I said 7th.
Yeah, it was Nathan Horton that went 3.
Ryan Suter goes 7th. See, I'm not one of those heavy draft knowledgeable guys.
Do you remember? You're looking at the list, but do you remember the Canucks draft pick that year? If you can
2003 in the first round was Kessler,
and this is Kessler. This was actually like a really phenomenal draft year too. So,
but so I'm just looking, where did they have Shea Weber? He was, and almost the end of, well, not quite
4th.
the end.
I think I want to say 4th.
He was, where are we here? Gosh, 1, 2, 3. Louis Eriksson. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 18th in the second round as a compensatory draft pick. And I mean,
so that's my pick.
It's such a good pick. Max Lacpierre, David Backus is in there.
So many good players in that draft here.
We take
Patrick O'Sullivan. Like,
you could have traded second.
Jimmy Howard. Like, so many good players.
I'm just seeing who the Canucks had in the 3rd round. Or did they have a 3rd round? Doesn't look like they had a 3rd rounder. Oh, because they traded from Vancouver via Washington. So Zach Stortini went to Edmonton. So that would have been
a bunch of games too. Yeah.
But I mean, that one always bugged me because it was such a phenomenal player. And it just, Nashville reaped the rewards for years.
Here's a fun pick. So in the 6th round, and we can move on to the next pick out of this. Mm-hmm. In the 6th round, Canucks drafted country music superstar Chad Brownlee.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Who would have known, hey? Anyways, pick number 2 for you.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
And I feel like there's no escape for you on this one because you had all day to, I feel like, think about this, but
I know. I had a busy day. Oh man. Nick Merck. I'm just kidding. Not Nick Merkley.
At least you selected the right Rockets player from that era.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, you know what? It's funny. Like, you really, I thought I had players on this list, and all of a sudden, like, my brain has gone to mush.
Are you going to be able to get through this?
Jaromir Jagr.
Yags! What a beauty. How about Jagr night in Pittsburgh the other night, eh?
I like to thank my girlfriend because she has no idea about anything I've ever done.
Yeah, because she wasn't born when I was playing.
So good. Jaromir Jagr was as good as Mario Lemieux was, as good as the Ronnie Francis and the Stevens and Rick Tocchet. And like, that team had so much talent. And yet Jaromir Jagr was like, the guy is ageless. He's still able to, like,
I think is he not still playing pro hockey in Kladno right now?
If he did one more comeback in the NHL, which I hope he doesn't, he could probably put up maybe 5 to 10 goals.
I remember. Okay, so first off, it was really interesting with Jagr in that it seemed like he was basically a generational player,
mm-hmm.
and he had respect for days just because of how good he was, and he had this like aura about him. But
mm-hmm.
as he got older, it was like he became more of a folk hero because his personality just shone through even more.
Yeah.
And so he became even more likable somehow, which was just like unreal to me. But I remember thinking, and it was the moment that I was like, holy shit, Jágr is maybe, the newer, better version, or sorry, Ovechkin is the newer, better version of Jágr, because I remember thinking Jágr was just this house on wheels
He was.
that was so big. And then he just got, do you remember that hit at like center ice that Ovechkin threw on Jágr in like the Olympics? It's maybe one of the biggest hits I've ever seen.
I remember
Jágr got absolutely rocked. Jágr got absolutely rocked, went down, popped up almost as quick as he got hit.
Yeah.
And then Ovechkin goes in and they create a goal and score. But like that hit was like for me, I mean, we all knew that Ovi was going to be great, but that hit was like, wow, he is basically the complete player. He can do it physically and just open this game up, or he can score a goal at will. Oh my God, I can't believe Ovi's so good. That was the moment for me when he took down the Giant. That was Jágr, right?
I'm thankful I got to see Ovi twice in person.
So cool.
So much fun.
So
Who's your second one?
My second player is Sergei Fedorov.
Yep.
He was just so cool. Like I remember I had those white Nike skates. Like I remember the year that they were so bogged down in Detroit and had all these injuries, and Fedorov had to play half the season on defense.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was no big deal. Like he looked like a good offensive defenseman that could absolutely handle his own end, and you couldn't do shit on him offensively. And imagine having that level of ability. The guy could skate, the guy could score. He very easily could have been a perennial 100-point player. But just like Yzerman, defense became a super important part of his game, right? And I find it difficult now when I'm looking at overall players in all of the eras to find a more complete player than Sergei Fedorov. Just unreal how good he really was.
He was just like, you think about players that dominated like specific teams, and it always felt personal when Fedorov owned the Canucks. Like, there's just, he didn't like, it wasn't personal. He was just like, I'm just good against everybody. And just an absolute unit, a crazy goal scorer, amazing skating ability, passing. I mean, Nike definitely had the right athlete. And he made
Anna Kournikova.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. So did Pavel, if we're making notes. Worked out well for both of them. Yeah, Fedorov, that's a great pick. Great pick.
Who was your first pick again? Was it
Sakic?
Was it Ovi? Sakic.
Columbus Blue Jackets alumnus as well.
Sergei and then Jágr was your number 2.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good pick.
As of right now, your team is better than mine. But
well, I'm due after losing. Oh, was there any other players? If you could have brought any more historical figures, I was thinking like Ivan the Terrible would have been a good pick.
I mean, Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah. I feel like we almost need a do-over for that one. Like some really nasty people. Yeah. But back to the task at hand. See, I'm looking at my list of 5 here, and I feel like I'm missing out on so many guys, but these all hit home for me. I can't remember if there was a rumor or not, or if it was going to happen, but I'm going to go back to the well here. Line mate of Joe Sakic's, Fopa.
Oh,
Peter Forsberg.
What a player. Oh my God.
Another guy that
on one leg.
He had a thing against the Canucks, and he made you pay for it. Every time that guy was on the ice, he was just ruthless. You didn't want to hit him because he'd hit you back. You didn't want to test him. Remember the whole Jerome McGinley kind of thing, like, don't wake the bear, he's going to own you. He was one of those guys. I mean, so was Sakic. Those two were just so dangerous. And I mean, a Peter Forsberg, again, at any point would have been so much fun. I swear, I feel like there was a rumor for him.
He's not on Corey Hirsch's list. I'll tell you that for free.
Well, I guess you can put that on a postage stamp if you like. Yeah. Peter Forsberg, I don't, if I have to even explain, then he wasn't good enough. Peter Forsberg would have been a phenomenal Canuck.
Oh, I mean, just imagine where he would have finished on the all-time list had he not had to retire early and he wasn't playing on half a leg.
Yeah. He was a true power forward.
Yeah, I think he was so good.
We were spoiled. That era, we were quite spoiled.
Oh,
this era, we've had some pretty awesome players. I mean, we have the Crosbys and the Ovechkins, and there are a handful of guys that we're all going to be thrilled to say that we get to see in this era. But I tell you, just before the dead puck and then through the dead puck era, there were some pretty special players that we got to see.
Eric Lindros is not going to be on my list. That's a player that I absolutely loved watching back in the day.
So not Lindros. Okay.
Brendan Moore, the Legion of Dublin with Leclerc and Renberg, like just so unreal. Grant in the chat brings up, how really would have liked to know how good Luc Bourdon would have been. So same thing. I was thinking about him because I really like Kopitar. That was one of my favorite players for a long, long time. Went out in the same draft too, right? So, he also talks about the Wings-Avs rivalry. Like, wow. Like, we haven't had anything like that since then, right? Because the league won't allow that to happen. So, great call out on that one. I'll make my fourth pick. And I'm going to go to third pick?
Third.
Yeah, third pick.
Wait. I have a guess here.
Okay.
I have a guess here. I'm just going through like some of the all-time players. Is it a Russian?
There is a Russian on this list, but it's
okay. Because I have one guy that I'm thinking, but I'm not going to put him on my list.
You know what? I'm just going to go and pick the Russian. I'll pick the Russian next, just for you. You can tell me if that's who you were guessing or not.
It is.
Pavel Datsyuk.
Oh, no. That's a good pick. Yeah.
Pavel Datsyuk. And for all of those reasons that I just love Sergei
He probably
Fedorov,
wouldn't have
right?
fit on the Canucks. He was too good.
He was too good. Right? I mean, for all of the reasons that I like Sergei Fedorov and for all of the reasons that I, for better or worse, like love Patrice Bergeron, like you just don't score when you're on the ice with Datsyuk, and then he just embarrasses you with those phone booth deeks. Like,
yes,
there's nobody in the league that does what he does. And if you look up videos of guys trying to take the puck off Datsyuk in close, like you can't be made to look like more of a fool than when you're trying to check Pavel Datsyuk in close.
I'm going to take that back for 1 second. There is only one line.
Goals.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to add to your awesomeness, there is only two other players that would have fit, and it would have been the Sedins. You would have never been able to get the puck away from them.
Maybe, but from them, but he just did it. He did it in a 5-foot span, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you bring up the phone booth thing. He's probably the only player that you could like consistently say, like, makes plays inside of a phone booth. He's the only guy.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, Pavel Datsyuk
and his shootout moves were
just so good. And you know what? And I think it must have been a Detroit thing because I really liked Henrik Zetterberg too, right? But he's not on that list. But man,
they were spoiled.
Pavel Datsyuk, wow.
Remember
wow.
Remember the lean on the one skate, the pullback move?
Oh God.
Remember when we saw that and you're like, okay, you're not allowed to do that.
Just the level of creativity, Datsyuk must have been the reason that the skill stick got created in Shell.
Oh, have to be. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Like, yeah, I mean, you know how all the boomers out there, they just hate all these hot dogging players and everything, right?
Oh, no, I just got hot dogging with the puck. If that was in my era, we'd have just punched him in the head.
Exactly. Pavel Datsyuk was the kind of guy that probably like united the generations. It's like, we can all appreciate what he just did.
He was wearing the gauntlet. He had all the Infinity Stones.
He did have all the Infinity Stones. That's a great pick, man.
You're on your fourth? Is that right?
I'm on my fourth. So I'm going to flip my picks here because I might leave this other guy off my list. The chosen son who never played here. Man, and it felt like it was going to happen to him and his bro. We really thought this was going to happen. I've been trying to get this guy on the podcast, but it hasn't worked out. I mean, if you want to say his name, you can say it, but Scotty Niedermayer, man, if he could have been a Canuck, I tell you,
Oh, they would have won.
they would have won a semi.
I don't know what else to say. They would have won. I mean, I guess even Niedermayer needed Pronger to some extent.
Did he need him though? He did. It just made his job easier.
Well, I mean, they worked hard to get Rob, right? When they tried to get him as part of the Luongo deal, but they were unwilling to let him go. And the stories were that if you could have secured Rob, you could have managed to somehow get your hands on Scott Niedermayer down the road somewhere, right?
What kind of drunk thinking is that, hey?
Maybe that's why the Canucks drafted Celebrini's brother. Yeah, well, I mean, arguably one of the smoothest skating defensemen of all time is one of those guys that looked like he was barely trying when he was skating and just blowing by guys. Ridiculously good defensively, national championships, Olympic golds, you name it. This guy did it.
He was so good. He
From
was
a small BC town, just true professional, awesome player.
Beyond humble, like beyond humble. I always wondered, like he was definitely one of those players where I think we all believed that there's a chance that Scott Niedermayer would be a Canuck someday. Maybe at the end of his career.
I think we thought that about any player that came from.
No, I know that, but like it was one of those guys like, I think this might be the year we get him.
It's so close.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically right there. Like, why wouldn't he want to play for the Canucks? Well, there's plenty of reasons.
Great pick.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Who you got?
I am going to go. I got a defenseman. I got a couple of forwards. I'm going to go goalie.
Oh, I couldn't find a goalie.
And man, how do you not name the Dominator? I mean, the guy was must-see TV, right? I mean, Goalies have changed over the years. There's been butterfly goalies. Like now we got goalies that more block than save, right?
Yeah.
He was just different. He was really just different. I mean, I think the closest guy I can think of to watching Dominator play is maybe Tim Thomas in his prime. It was just that really unorthodox style. And he was the first guy to chuck his stick away and grab the puck with his blocker and like those rolling pad saves and coming across the crease and laying out your back to go fly your legs up, knowing that the guy's going to go roof, but it's the only way to get there. Man, Dominik Hasek was fun to watch. He was must-see TV, and there was very few teams ever in this league that you would tune in just to watch the goalie.
Yeah, he was. It's funny. I remember I had like 1 billion of his rookie card back at like the Pro Set days, and it was
the Chicago one, the upper deck cards.
Yeah, just like
and the thing saying that guys would like shoot at him, and he'd like try to stop pucks with just his legs, and he'd put his hands behind his back. Wild.
To have the career that he had.
And he was back up to who? Do you remember?
Well, originally it would have been Eddie Belfour.
Yeah, just some guy named Ed Belfour had a backup named Dominik Hasek. Give me a break. What?
Like the joke was he had a slinky for a spine, which we all know is impossible. But
well, I mean, he was a big yoga guy. Why not?
But what he did, he made like flukiness look normal. Like he made it look like it was a style. Like every save he made felt like like desperation saves all the time, and yet it's almost like his body. It's like watching The Matrix when Neo figures it all out, and he's just stopping all the kung fu moves, in the slow mo. But he just did that on a nightly basis.
Yeah,
the rollover, like you said, the rollover stack the pads or the back glove save, and it was all the time. It wasn't just occasionally. It got to the point where it was just like, we get it, man. We get that this is how your body works. Stop.
I mean, the guy won back-to-back Lester B. Pearson Awards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what else can you say? Like, how many goalies have ever won that?
Did he win a Hart Trophy?
I don't think he ever won a Hart. But I mean,
he might have.
He won the Ted Lindsay Award. Like, give me back-to-back.
The Ted Lindsay was? Oh, sorry. I'm thinking the Rocker Richard. I'm like, he didn't score.
It's the Ted Lindsay, the Lester B. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, should he have won a Hart? Yeah, obviously. But that's what happens. So, plus, he's got a couple of Stanley Cups.
He was really good. He was really, really good.
He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Vezinas. No big deal.
That's it, hey? 6?
Just 6. Whatevs. On like some not amazing Buffalo teams.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
he was a Brett Hall skate in the crease away from winning a Stanley Cup before he got to Detroit. So
that's true. Yeah. Thankfully, we don't have a lot of people from Buffalo watching our show.
Heck of a player.
Oh, man. I'm scared. I'm down to my last one here. So I've got a couple guys that I've been looking at. I'm just making sure I'm not missing something. But I mean, this is, I guess, all fun and games. This probably goes against a lot of things. But let's be honest. If he was on the Canucks, we probably wouldn't have had to suffer as much as we did. Captain Sirius.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't know if I'm mature enough to pick Taves or Kane, but
Jonathan Taves. Hey, you know what? I could probably pick even Patty Kane, but I'd rather.
You're probably right. Yeah,
a full playmaker instead of just the goal scorer. But even Patty Kane would have been a great. I think he was just everything that we thought we had in the guys, and he just did it better. He just dug deep. I mean, he was. If you needed a big goal or a big play or something, even if it wasn't there, somehow he found it. Somehow he made it happen. And
back to back shootout moves.
Oh, exactly. Like they relied on him in junior at the national level. They relied on him. I mean, as soon as he got to the NHL, he was a difference maker. Instant.
Yeah, I mean, our maybe one of the greatest leaders. I mean, I know him and Crosby had to have a conversation about who was going to captain Team Canada. The best player in the world at the time, talking to Taves about who's going to captain the squad. I mean, Taves not even close to the best player in the world, right? But we were talking in our chat a while back at the start of the, I guess closer towards the start of the season when this team was really picking it up about like, hey, wouldn't it be awesome to bring Taves in as like the new fourth line center?
Oh, right. Yeah.
But
I get that hurts to say because there's a lot of pain there. I mean, Brad Marchand would be a nice pick too, but
just call Patrice out of retirement.
Exactly. There's the players. I mean, I look at all my guys here, and I mean, all those players have caused the Canucks incredible grief. And you could they're just the guys you would dream like, man, if that guy was on our team, and legitimately thinking that.
Oh.
And you can't help it because at the end of the day, you're like, yep. Mm-hmm. That's why. He's
well, shit.
You see Johnny T with his big mutton chops, and he's like,
yeah, terrible beard.
Yeah, awful.
Terrible
awful. He'd be in a Lamoriello type team. That'd be better for him. I got one honorable mention, but I want you to pick yours first.
Okay. Paul Kariya.
Mm-hmm.
Had so much fun when growing up. I know Spider Soul mentioned in the chat earlier.
Pre or post concussion?
Just all of it. Man.
Okay.
Like he was just obviously pre-concussion, but he was like in concussion when he was scoring some of the most amazing goals I've ever seen in my life.
You mean the overtime goal?
Yeah, like just getting absolutely rocked by Scott Stevens. Shouldn't even be allowed to look at light.
Yeah, shouldn't have been alive.
Gets up and scores a goal. Doesn't even remember that he scored it. He's on autopilot and he's that good. Like one of the most exciting players I've ever seen play. That duo with him and Solani for how many years?
Would you say he's a Jedi if he could do it when he didn't even know?
I mean, didn't he seem like a Jedi, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was like a more electrifying version of Sakic, right? Because he was such a good skater. And that is like the archetype for what you want a winger to be. Like he was just phenomenal. Everything about the guy was silky smooth. The way he played the game reminded me of watching Ken Griffey bat. I don't know how else to explain it.
Interesting. That's a great analogy, a great comparison.
Thanks.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Griffey, there was guys that had bigger swings, right? Watch Mo Vaughn swing.
Ooh,
right? You watch
Calm
Frank
down
Thomas.
now. Just calm down now.
Frank Thomas swing the bat.
Frank
Bautista,
Steakhouse.
right? Albert Bell. These guys just attack the ball with violent swings, and that wasn't what Griffey was. It was this smooth, perfect swing every time, and the ball was gone the second it hit his bat, and you knew it.
We were
And that
just
was
talking about him the other day. Ken
Albert
Griffey.
Bell?
My dad and I. Yeah, exactly. Albert Bell. Yeah, I doubt it. Yeah, about Ken Griffey's swing. Like we were talking about, I got to see him when he got traded back to the Mariners. In his last season, I saw him play against the Angels. Torrey Hunter and Vlad Sr. were playing on that team.
Yeah, and then Ken Griffey Jr. came and stole a ball from him on a catch.
Maybe that could happen in an alternate universe. No, you're right though. Like just the way his swing was, and I don't want to go too far in baseball, but just the way his swing was, it wasn't violent. It was just like a swing and like an assurance.
Smooth
And
as
the way-
fast.
And the way the way Korea shot, like it was just like an assured shot.
Mhm.
So nice.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Just poetry, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he's again another duck on that team that. Wow, the Canucks have really been just abused, haven't they? Like I'm looking at all these. You've got Weber, you've got Fedorov, Datsuk, Hasek, and Korea. I got Sakic, Yager, Forsberg, Niedermeyer.
Team's pretty good, right?
This is and Taves. So I had like a dual honorable mention: Dustin Brown and Ilya Kovalchuk.
Dustin Brown.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
That was going to happen, and then LA went and won the cup. They were that close to trading. Wasn't
Dustin Brown?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, hey,
potatoes,
cool.
man.
I mean, you like what you like. I don't like mashed potatoes. So
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you can barely lift it. Like I said, folks, dude can deadlift 500 pounds. You've seen it on Instagram and occasionally on Twitter. Can't even lift a fork that weighs ounces with a little bit of mashed potatoes on it. I'm just saying.
yeah. So
You know.
Dustin Brown and who was the other guy?
Kovalchuk.
Kovalchuk.
I thought you were going to take Kovalchuk, actually.
I mean, Kovalchuk was so exciting.
Him and Danny Heatley were a lot.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean my honorable mentions would probably be, Lindros would be one of them. Because man, did I love watching Lindros play.
He was pretty fun. He was a pretty fun dude, and he hated.
Yeah.
I mean, the Flyers days, the Rangers.
Yeah. I mean, and if it wasn't for illegal hits, he'd probably still be fine.
Yeah.
And then the other guy's Solani, man, just wow.
Solani would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have enjoyed a lot of Teemu Solani.
Yeah.
That was a good call on that. Good call on that top five.
Yeah, it's fun. Good one.
Well, I had a lot more fun doing this than I did watching the Canucks game tonight. It was not a fun game. The Canucks have now lost 4 in a row. They're going to get through this, folks. Like Grant said, they're going to go and they're going to beat Boston on Saturday. All will be well with the world. I'm curling on Saturday. So I'm going to enjoy curling for the first time in like 5 years. That should be a good time.
Yeah, that'll be good. Sorry I couldn't make it.
No, that's okay, man. It was, we had a spot open and we need someone to fill it. And you seem like a good option, but it's tough. It's a Saturday. You can't always make Saturdays work for everybody. So I had this plan for a little while. So, so I'll be playing some curling, couple 4-ender games. It's going to be a good time. Hang around the rink with most of the people I grew up with who I'll now likely be competing against this weekend. Very weird when you live in this town. But it'll be a good time. And then finish my day watching the Canucks hopefully smoke the Boston Bruins and get back to normal. Did you say reach out for pointers? Bro, the only pointers you need, if I shave this thing off right now, the only pointer you need to give is don't bite down on your broom wearing a slider for the first time, learning a lesson in curling. And I ended up getting 5 stitches right there. I think I'm the only person.
He needs pointers. He needs pointers.
Yeah, I do. So anyway, that'll be a good time. And I'm sure you're going to be having a good weekend as well. Yes?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. We got some family stuff on. It'll be good. We'll hang out. Got to do a little more work around the house and
get that room finished up.
Maybe head down to Home Depot and buy a door frame.
Bed Bath and Beyond. I got a door if you need it.
Yeah, I do need to get blinds for this thing. Like if you look here, you can see
your vehicles.
An late 2000s Honda Civic there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I can't quite see it, thankfully, with the reflection.
Yeah, you can see this though.
Trevor Linden. It's Trevor Linden, folks.
Yeah.
I know that photo.
Are these ones?
This has been good, man. Oh, he's got like Ted and Trevor Linden, like they're, what's the word?
We go back like babies and pacifiers.
Babies and past. They're like a symbiotic relationship.
Like me and Mariah go back like babies and pacifiers.
Let's go back to the 90s. Folks, thanks for coming along. This has been a lot of fun. It's the PP1 podcast. PP1 podcast, because I said it a little bit fast there. PP1 podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network, a menagerie of hockey podcasts. You probably listen to the Leafs ones right now. Some of you, maybe the Bruins, heck, Seattle Kraken even. But you know what matters? You listen to the podcast that is host to the best team in the NHL this season, the Vancouver Canucks. And they're going to bounce back, and they're going to make you all pay for it. So on behalf of my good friend, Ted Wong, a.k.a. Mashed Taters, I'm Ryan Tigerblood. Peace out.